Quiet. Not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Hey, it's Nicklin Hames from Nebraska Volleyball. I hate wasting time in practice, and I want to help you stop wasting your time when you're looking for an electrician. High Electric has been serving the area for over 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They are experts in everything like remodeling, new additions, hot tub installation, and more. And they take jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at high-electric.com.
This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Hold up.
Hello, good afternoon, welcome in. It is On the Block. It is not Strick in Austin. It's Rico in Austin.
Yeah, you get yourself a different Bellevue West alum.
Heck yeah. They loved us so much at the end of Old School yesterday. Back by popular demand.
I'm back, baby. Here we go.
Here we are.
You know you guys love us.
How could they not?
It's really impossible.
It's true.
Very lovable people.
You know what else it's impossible not to love? Mary Ellen's.
Oh.
Thanks to them for sponsoring this show. They're at 27th and Pine Lake. Right by where I used to live. I'm bummed I moved away.
Oh.
So
dude.
I love the house, but that was nice and close.
You know, Mary Ellen's is delicious, and I need to get back out there. Because
what's your go-to when you go there?
Oh, the ribs.
You're a ribs guy? Okay.
It's the ribs. I'm a big ribs guy. I had their wings for the first time the last time I was there. Life changer. That's a game changer. And their beans are the best beans I've ever had in my life. Best beans.
I'm a brisket guy. The wings look so good, though.
I have not.
I need to have them.
Actually, I have had the brisket. That is really good. No, but I was a big ribs guy. And Mary Ellen's ribs they would change your life.
I got to try them next time.
It's a fact.
Anyways, Mary Ellen's, 27th and Pine Lake. You can stop in today. Also order online, maryellens.com. Shout out Charles and the crew. Busy show here on the block. We'll get into Nebraska basketball versus Illinois. More of the same from this team. We know what they are. They're going to win one. They're going to lose one. It's how it is. We'll look at the Big Ten, how the standings are looking right now, and kind of the outlook for the rest of January, at least, before we turn the corner into the dregs of February, and also the officiating conversation. Is it holding the league back? That's a question I want to get into. What else do we have this hour? We have Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. We'll chat with Evan. A lot of Husker football, maybe get some Husker baseball as well. With that right around the corner. You're playing the shootout today.
Shootout with Rico.
Shootout with Rico.
Spoiler alert, I'm a terrible shooter.
Oh, boy.
So there's that. I'm more of a defensive guy.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Patrick Beverly type?
Yeah. I'll lock you down, but don't ask me to make a shot.
Fair enough. 3 o'clock hour, then we'll get into the Big Ten West. A lot of change at a lot of schools in that division. And Nebraska's not the only one with changes, so we'll look at that. Maybe do some NFL buy, sell, and then we'll finish out with the crossover with Old School. So, Nebraska basketball absolutely wrecked by Illinois.
Not a great look.
Disgusting first half. Just brutal. Tough to watch. That was an 11 o'clock ESPN2 kickoff of a basketball game in the first half. Just disgusting. Not good. Derek Walker, 2 early fouls. Manuel Bandemel, couple early fouls. Wilhelm Breidenbach, 3 early fouls.
Love it. Be physical.
What did we decide? 24 fouls in the first half?
It was 24 fouls combined for Illinois and Nebraska in the first half. Probably somewhere around 40-something if you include the fans watching the game. Like, look, man, it was just whistle after whistle after whistle. The refs made sure that everyone knew they were there. That's pretty much all it was. Like, they're like, hey, we're here too.
Big Ten has a lot of those guys. It appears.
Unfortunately.
We know the names.
Mhm.
If you say the name Bo Borowski, 14 fan bases have a bone to pick with
Yeah,
that
if you
guy.
got Bo
Courtney
Borowski.
Green has been on the block recently with the Ohio State Rutgers ending.
I don't know what's going on.
He was the one that made the call against CJ Wilshire in the Purdue game. Then the one of Iowa's last games, he was there reffing. People had a problem with him. You shouldn't know these guys' names.
No.
There are guys like Ted Valentine who will work the odd Big Ten game here or there. Kip Kissinger is another one. DJ Karstensen in the Big Ten. Roger Ayers, more an ACC Big 12 guy, but you don't know the names of the good ones.
Like you should know the names of them just because the good ones, because there's something that stands out about them. Like Ed Hockley in the NFL,
Sure.
like he's just a big dude being a ref. Like that's why you know Ed Hockley, not because he makes bad calls. Like it should be an anomaly when you know the refs' names. It's usually either because of something silly or because they're very bad. Those are the only two reasons you know a referee's name.
And we know far too many names in the Big Ten.
Yes.
That being said, it's not the reason Nebraska lost the game last night. It was bad. It was atrocious. Derek Walker wasn't good. Part of that has to do with the early fouls. I'm sure he wasn't in rhythm. Dane Danger took him out of the game.
Yes, 100%.
He did. Derek Walker's got to be better.
Which was
that.
very strange because if you think about the better bigs in the Big Ten, I don't think you're thinking about Dane Danger, and you look at who Derek Walker's already gone up against and how much success he's had with these players, and then you go up against Illinois and you can't get it. He was getting shots up over a 7-foot whatever Zach Edey, but Dane Danger, who's much closer to Derek Walker's
6'9",
size,
270,
couldn't get a shot off.
No.
And that's, partially due to the referees and, again, the early foul trouble. He's been called for a couple offensive fouls for lowering his shoulder, so he's probably playing a little bit timid in that respect. But also, Dane seems like a very good shot blocker, and for some reason wasn't getting called for many fouls when physicality seemed to be seemed to be like something that wasn't really allowed in last night's game.
Right. To me, it also comes down to scouting. Illinois, I think, has the book on Nebraska. Other teams will too. So as much as it was an individual effort by Dane Danger, as much as it was, some of the refs, letting some stuff go, not letting other stuff go, Derek Walker's got to get into the bag a little bit more. Fred Hoiberg has to find different ways to get him the ball. And there's that balance between what do we do that works for us that we know we're good at, and how do we adjust to what we think other teams will do? We've seen that problem in football for so long. Nebraska has something it likes to do. Other teams, adjust to that. Where's the adjustment to the adjustment?
Exactly.
That's the mark of a good coaching staff and a good team. We haven't seen a whole lot of that.
No, it's what are you going to do to take away or to add on to what that team is taking away from you? And for Nebraska, was they took Derek Walker out, and the other team didn't take Derek Walker out of the game early. No. The refs took Derek Walker out of the game early. Then when he got back into the game, they were playing through him, which is something that they love to do. They're playing through him. He got a couple easy a couple easy assists, some great passes, some flashy passes from Derek Walker. And then Illinois adjusted, and they started taking away those cutting lanes for Derek Walker to get the passes through. So then he just has the ball at the free throw line, and he's looking to get it back out to the top of the key to a Sam Griesel, to an Emmanuel Bandemiller, to somebody to reignite the offense and get something going. And unfortunately, Nebraska's offense didn't adjust to that and was not able to do really anything when Derek Walker didn't have the ball in his hands, because you saw multiple times, and this is something I realized, it was almost automatic, the passing at the top. So you would have Sam bring it down, he'd pass it to Derek or Wilhelm in the middle. They would turn around, pass it to whoever on the other side. And 2 times Wilhelm got the ball, immediately turned and passed it. Easy steal, easy bucket for Illinois. You have to mix things up. You can't just run the same play, the same motion over and over and over if it's not working. If it's working, sure, go ahead and keep doing it. But if it's not working, you got to switch things up, because they're going to read that, they're going to react, and you're going to give up 2 easy points.
Right. You got to see how much you can make things look the same at the start, but have different actions off of that. The other big takeaway for me is Juwan Gary went down. We don't know exactly what the issue is. Haven't heard yet. He was getting checked out. Only 16 minutes. The second time, it looked like it was a shoulder. Again, like he was limited the first time.
One of the Illinois players swatted a ball back, kind of caught Juwan's hand and pulled it back, his shoulder. And it's the one that already had the brace on, the big brace on it. And then when he came back, he had ice on his shoulder on the bench. So I'm guessing, I'm not going to guess the exact injury, but it's 100% a shoulder injury.
that's the guy Nebraska needs to be full speed.
Yes.
He does. He provides so much for this team. Not the most skilled guy. He can knock down a three here and there, but his energy on both sides of the floor, Nebraska was lacking that last night, which was weird at home. Again, maybe some of that's, the flow being interrupted early on, very stop and start first half. But that's where you want and you need a guy like Juwan Gary in the game to try and provide that spark.
I mean, there were two instances where a spark was lit by a different player. Emmanuel Bandamel to start the second half, lit the spark with a three and a big dunk. And then, as I said earlier on the crossover, Illinois called a timeout and immediately responded. And then Wilhelm Breidenbach, when you're down by 22 points or whatever, he goes on an 11-0 run by himself to pull you within 11 points. Illinois responds with another corner. It seemed every time they needed a response, they just went to the corner and hit a three. And it didn't really matter because there were a couple that were decently contested, nothing but net. They were just on fire and could not miss from the corner. Now, if you're talking taking shots from the top of the key, they weren't hitting those as regularly. But from the corner, it seemed as if they couldn't miss. It almost seemed as if a guy got the ball in the corner. If he threw it up, it would probably go in.
8 of 29 shooting from long range for the Fighting Illini. That's adequate three-point defense. You hold a team to, sub 33%. You take your chances with that math, but it didn't matter because of the turnovers and just the general lack of juice from Nebraska.
The threes were timely also.
Yes.
It's not like you just read they weren't hitting a lot. They hit 8 of them, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it was every time Nebraska needed Illinois not to score. You would have much rather given up a layup, but you're giving up a three. And it just takes all the juice out of the building.
Right. So Illinois, its second straight win, they went on the road went at home and beat Wisconsin, come on the road and beat Nebraska. 26-point loss. It's one thing to lose to Illinois, who's clearly more talented than Nebraska, but to lose by 26 at home after you get a big road win, that's the disappointing part for me. And we're still looking for that consistency. I don't understand it, how you have such a senior-laden team. If you look at Griesel, Walker, Bandamel, Gary, who's been on that team before, and even guys like, CJ Wilshire, who've played plenty of minutes. I'm not saying they have to be, the exact same team every night, but still, for such an old team with guys who've been around the block to have this wild of swings from looking, not like world beaters, but having that resolve against Minnesota and then it all falling apart against Illinois and then having that be at home, I don't understand it. Help me understand.
I really wish I could. The only thing I can really add to that is they are a senior-laden team, but a lot of their seniors are coming from different places. So this is the first year that they're playing together, which is not really an excuse because there are other teams who do close to the same thing, maybe not as many transfers in or as many new faces, but they'll have a decent amount, and it seems as if they gel pretty quickly, whereas Nebraska, it's taking a while, and there are games, like you said, games where they gel and everything looks copacetic and fantastic, and then other games where it's, you lose by 20 plus to Illinois.
Right.
So I don't exactly know why Nebraska is so inconsistent, but my main guess is just that this team hasn't played together as much as some of these other teams have, where, in Illinois, I couldn't tell you how many transfers they have in, but I can tell you that a lot of them have been at the University of Illinois for quite some time.
Two guys that haven't, Matt Meyer and Terrence Shannon, who were big in that game for Illinois. Coming up next, we will talk to Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald, get some Husker football thoughts. We'll hear from some coaches tomorrow. We'll see what Evan expects to hear from them and a whole lot more. Evan Bland next on the block.
Ever think of having a career in plumbing or heating? Do you enjoy watching your favorite game in a nice, comfortable space? Taking a shower after a warm day? Well, everyone we serve at Biggerstaff Plumbing, Heating, and Air sure does. If you're interested in a career in plumbing, heating, and air, come join our team where you'll get paid while training. No experience required. Enjoy great pay and benefits in a friendly environment. Call Biggerstaff Plumbing, Heating, and Air at 402-466-8118 or apply online at biggerstaffs.com.
The Force will be with the Lincoln Stars on Saturday, January 14th on Star Wars Night at the Icebox. Various Star Wars characters will be on hand, and you can get in on the fun by purchasing a McDonald's Family 4-pack. You'll get 4 tickets and 2 Star Wars-themed pucks for $65. Purchase your tickets now online at lincolnstars.com or by calling 402-474-7827.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. It doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Doren. God bless you.
Problem gambling affects more than the gambler. It affects spouses, children, extended family members, and friends. If you are a loved one who's struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 476-2300.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is searching for technicians of all skill levels to grow with us. Landmark offers a competitive wage, full benefits package with 100% paid employee health insurance, paid time off, paid parental and bereavement leave, an annual recreation bonus, and a boot and clothing allowance. Landmark offers the latest certified John Deere training so you're up to date with the newest equipment and technology. Interested in becoming a part of the Landmark difference? Apply now at landmark.careers. Landmark Implement is an equal opportunity employer.
Think you need a new furnace due to a cracked heat exchanger? Call Bryant for a free second opinion. Might save you thousands, no matter what brand. Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. We do whatever it takes.
Life-changing research doesn't just take place in outer space. It's also happening right here in Nebraska, and you could play a key role. Solarion, one of the world's leading clinical research organizations, needs healthy adults who are 19 years old and older for a research opportunity. If you qualify, you can earn up to $500 a day for time and travel. Overnight stays may be required. To learn more, call Solarion at 866-213-2965 or visit helpresearch.com/500.
The Ticket Water Cooler with Jake Bakoven and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
The Big Ten feels like a missed opportunity here. You had two teams in the playoffs, not one making the championship.
I would say it's a missed opportunity for Michigan. I think that's the worst of the two. I think Ohio State, honestly, one kick away from going back to the national championship game. Ohio State doing that, I think that looks good for the Big Ten, although they didn't win. But Michigan losing to TCU, not a great look for the Wolverines.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on the block. Austin and Rico with you. Joined now on the Honda of Lincoln hotline by Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. This is big for me. I've talked plenty to Evan off the air, called him a number of times. Evan, this is a big moment for me. Finally, actually getting to chat with you on the air about actual sports topics.
I know, this is great. It's like we have the experience in the green room, and now we're front and center.
That we are. Well, we'll start with Husker football here. Nebraska, 1 of 2 on its most recent transfer targets. They get Billy Kemp into Lincoln, but they miss out on Micah Mazuka. We'll start with the wide receiver room. As I look at that, Evan, I'm not sure who the lead guy is. My gut tells me it's Marcus Washington, but Billy Kemp's played a lot of football. Maybe there's another leap in Alante Brown. If there is a lead guy for Nebraska football next year, do you think it's one of those three, or could it be someone else?
Well, I mean, I think the only other one you'd throw in there maybe would be Joshua Fleeks, having played at Baylor under Rule for a few years too. But no, I mean, I think it's probably Billy Kemp. I mean, you look at what he's done at Virginia, nearly 200 career catches. He's a slot guy, which I think will serve Nebraska pretty well. Like we're used to in the last handful of years watching Nebraska kind of air it out and throw deep quite a bit. I kind of feel like Billy Kemp's skill set as a 5'9", sort of jitterbug sort of dude will play to their favor, where he can sit at the sticks or find a pocket in zone coverage and move forward in that way. Like you look at some of his highlights and he's a guy who just finds a way in all sorts of different settings. So I think he's probably valuable in that way. Again, I think Fleeks is he's going to be valuable too, but I think some of his value to the team is going to be honestly on the sidelines and in the locker room, sort of spreading the gospel of Rule and showing that he's experienced firsthand what a transformation under that head coach has looked like at Baylor. So I think he brings some credibility there. And I mean, certainly, like you mentioned, Marcus Washington had his moments too. And it'll be interesting because Nebraska really for a third year in a row, and honestly many years in a row, has sort of reset at receiver, and they've had some luck in the portal. If you think about Samori Toure a couple of years ago and Trey Palmer this last year. So there are receivers to be had, and we've seen firsthand that success can carry over quickly. But you're right. When you have a new offense, potentially a new quarterback, depending on how that battle shapes out, it'll be interesting to sort of see who emerges.
Speaking on a new quarterback, Evan, we were looking earlier and saw that according to Vegas, Jeff Sims has some, I believe, a top 20 odds to win the Heisman next season. He's one spot above Marvin Harrison. I think they have the same amount of odds, but they have him above Marvin Harrison Jr. And my thought process with that is I don't even know if he's going to be the starter. Yes, he'll have a leg up, and I want to get your thoughts on this. He'll have a leg up on Casey Thompson because Casey's not going to be able to practice in the spring, maybe going into the summer due to the surgery that he had. And he's the handpicked guy that this staff got out of the portal. But Casey Thompson has been through it before down at Texas with Hudson Card. He's not new to a quarterback battle. So I just want to get your thoughts on the quarterback battle and Jeff Sims being, in the top 25 of Heisman odds.
I mean, the first thing I think of when I hear that is Adrian Martinez in 2019, how he was a dark horse Heisman guy and that didn't pan out. And it really wasn't fair to him, I think, in a lot of ways that was put on him. And so, I guess you take it with a grain of salt. You have to have a name in there if you're an odds maker and you're trying to create some kind of action. But that seems incredibly premature, I think, from this moment in time when, again, he's not even gotten to campus yet. Like you mentioned, he's going to have an advantage this spring with Casey Thompson recovering from shoulder surgery, where Sims will be able to go through the reps and learn the offense and build those relationships. But man, there's a long way between now and next season and how that's going to go. I'm talking about odds. It does feel like maybe at this exact second that if you had to pick somebody, Sims might be that guy that they might tab for a number of reasons. I think one, you think back to what Matt Rule and Marcus Satterfield have both said about that competition. I mean, they both praised Sims for his ability, his intangibles, his personality as a leader. And I think the comments about Casey Thompson have been a little bit more muted. You think about how Rule's rebuilds at Temple and Baylor went at that quarterback position. They started freshmen both times. PJ Walker at Temple, Charlie Brewer at Baylor, and sort of let those guys develop. And then that helped lead to those breakouts in year three. So that's I think something else you could envision with Sims, where I believe he has still 3 years, 2 or 3 years of eligibility remaining that you can build on, whereas Casey Thompson has the one. The only other thing I'll say about Casey Thompson, though, man, is he's going to be the most prepared guy in the room. If you spend any time with him, we've heard him talk last year. Days after Matt Rule was hired, he was telling me at the press conference that he's already been studying, Marcus Satterfield film and going through that. So I can't count him out, just knowing what a film junkie he is, how much he loves the game. I think he is more of a capable runner maybe than people give him credit for being. So it'll be a really fascinating quarterback position. And the last point I think that's important to remember is that, how many years in a row now has Nebraska needed its backup quarterback because of injury, because of different things that have popped up? My hunch is that both of those guys, if they're around and ready to roll, will make a difference or have a hand in how Nebraska does next season.
Sticking on the offense here, Evan, we move to the offensive line. You don't get Micah Mazuka. He had, a handful of good shooters in Nebraska, Florida, Auburn. A few of the names that are back, though, in Corcoran and Benhart and Wheelie and Prohaska. But who's going to play center? You go from Trent Hickson last year, Cam Jurgens before that. That's a big hole in the middle that I think Nebraska has to fill. Do you think there's a chance that, like the staff last year experimented perhaps with Turner Corcoran at center, he kicks inside, or do you think it's someone else that's snapping the ball?
Well, I mean, you talk about big portal additions. I think it's probably Ben Scott's job to lose. The Arizona State transfer who came in, he was the starting center for the Sun Devils last year, and a big reason that he transferred to Nebraska was because he felt like that was sort of his future in the NFL. So I would be surprised if it was anybody other than Ben Scott in there. And he's a guy who I believe still has 2 years of eligibility, but I spoke with him last month, and he felt like one good season could really boost his draft stock moving forward. So, the line in general, it's interesting because obviously it was a point of weakness for Nebraska last year. You hear Matt Rule and Marcus Satterfield both say fairly emphatically that they feel like that line will not be a weakness this year, that it might even be a strength for that offense. And so how does that come about. Like you mentioned, they miss out on Micah Mazuka, who would have been a really interesting interior lineman. He'd been a longtime starter at left guard. So, you're going to probably put Corcoran somewhere in there, I would imagine. Ben Hart, like you mentioned, back in the mix. Nori's going to be back off of suspension. And then we'll see what happens with Walter Rouse, the Stanford left tackle, who's set to make his decision at some point today. So, a lot of pieces that are still to kind of come together. And then, of course, they added some high school pieces that you'd expect in a couple of years to be factors too. So very much, a work in progress. And I think ultimately the name of the game is still going to be development. Like you might patch a hole or two with some transfers this year. But ultimately, the programs that have success in the Big Ten, they find those big men, they develop them, they keep them in the program, build some sort of continuity. So I think even though Nebraska is looking for a stopgap to find some success immediately in 2023, there's sort of a longer range game that they're just getting started on that in the trenches.
We're speaking with Evan Bland, Omaha World Herald. And Evan, we keep talking addition, but the problem with adding so many people this offseason is that there's going to have to be some subtraction before the season starts. They're over the scholarship limit right now. I know we're not going to get, exact names or anything, but there's a couple position groups with an inordinate amount of people in them. Mostly, a lot of people have been focused on the quarterback room with, I don't know, something like 6 or 7 scholarship quarterbacks right now. What's the expectation for maybe how long Nebraska waits before we start seeing maybe more people enter the transfer portal leaving Nebraska?
Yeah, that's a great point. And, unofficially, my count, I think they're right around 91 or 92, and you have to be down to 85 by the time that fall camp starts. And I say unofficially because sometimes there are guys who maybe went on last year, or you don't know if they had a recurring scholarship, if they were former walk-ons. They're just sort of some housekeeping things. But I mean, absolutely, they need to trim some spots. I would be surprised if you see many of those here in the next week. The portal closes on the 18th. And at this point, there's not a lot of incentive to enter unless you have a landing spot secured, because if you're thinking about it, you already have a scholarship in hand at your current institution. So I would imagine you're not going to see much movement now. At the end of spring, when there's that second portal window between May 1st and May 15th, I think that's when you really are going to see sort of that second wave where guys see the writing on the wall. Maybe they've gone through spring ball and they have a sense of where they might be on the depth chart and how things shake out. But yeah, I mean, specific to Nebraska, you look at the quarterback room, 7 scholarship players. I know fans were disappointed with, Malik Hornsby not coming to Nebraska, the Arkansas quarterback transfer. But to me, that was not a situation where Texas State beat Nebraska. That was a situation where a guy could start at one school and he'd be one of 8 scholarship quarterbacks at the other. So I think that's sort of that situation. The other interesting part about that room specifically is this staff has said they want to continue to utilize the quarterback run game. And a lot of these players who are here were recruited to that system, whether that's Logan Smothers or Richard Torres or Heinrich Harburg. So, it will be a really interesting spring to see how some of this competition shakes out. We mentioned Casey Thompson's going to be out with a shoulder injury. It sounds like Logan Smothers will be recovering from a similar procedure. So you would think that the reps would be there. But again, I think there's just, a few months here of workouts with players getting to meet the new coaches, with the newcomers being integrated into the team. And I would imagine by early May, a lot of those maybe numbers issues as it relates to scholarships will be figured out on their own.
Switching sides of the ball real quick here, Evan. We'll hear from defensive backs coach Evan Cooper and running backs coach EJ Barthel tomorrow. But in the defensive backfield, that's a position I like a lot for Nebraska with a lot of the guys that they have coming back with Newsome, Hartzog, Farmer. Hopefully Marcus Buford can make a quick recovery. If you think of that 3-3-5 Tony White wants to run, I'd like to think Newsome, Hartzog, and Farmer are 3 of those 5 manning the back end spots there. Who are the other 2? Is that Isaac Gifford in one of those, or is he factor into that second level of 3 more in that linebacker type role, even though he played some safety? But who do you think are the other 2 guys that fill in right now the 5 in the 3-3-5?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, you hear Tony White, the new DC, talk about it last week, and a lot of the 3-3-5 proponents would tell you that one of the real advantages of it is that it can adjust to your personnel. So, I mean, they've used examples where, hey, if you're stacked on the defensive line, maybe it's a 4-2-5. If you have a lot of an excess of linebackers, maybe it is more of a standard 3-3-5. Nebraska fans, I think, would recognize it more as a situation where that nickel package is sort of your base defense. And so, I mean, that's probably where you start, is with guys who have filled that role with Nebraska that are still there, whether that's Isaac Gifford, whether that's Javen Wright. Maybe you do feel good about just some of your younger defensive backs who are on the rise. And that's a position too, where you think about the secondary, and you mentioned the names. I mean, essentially, if you wanted to roll back with your starting secondary from last year, barring Marquise Buford's recovery, you could do that. And then you add a lot of really interesting players to the mix. One guy that I've heard a lot about who might fit that bill in terms of being versatile is Chief Borders, the Florida transfer, and his former teammate there, Corey Collier, who was a top 120 national prospect coming out of high school a few years ago. And you look at both of their measurables; those are bigger, quick twitch sort of guys. And when the task is to, on one hand, you need to be able to stop the run, maybe pursue the quarterback, and on the next snap, maybe you have to drop back and cover a tight end or a slot receiver. There just aren't a ton of guys who have that range of abilities. And so I think it's probably a small group, and coaches will probably start to, get a better sense of it when they get to know their players a little bit as far as what that alignment's going to look like. But I do think Nebraska has enough players on the roster right now that are versatile enough to make this thing work, at least close to what they want early on.
We're speaking with Evan Bland, Omaha World Herald. And Evan, they made it officially official, with Rule adding 3 assistants to the Nebraska staff: Bob Wager, Rob Dvoracek, and the more questioned one in Garrett McGuire, the 23-year-old, soon to be 24-year-old wide receiver coach. What are some of the pros and the cons of having a coach as young as him on the staff?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. One of, if not the youngest Power 5 assistant right now, 23. I think he turns 24 in a few weeks. So, it's a really, really interesting hire. He was a quarterback most of his playing career through high school, backup quarterback at Baylor. I've spoken to a couple people who have known him through most of his career, and they would tell you that, this is a guy who is a coach's son. Obviously, his dad, Joey's the head coach at Texas Tech. He's lived and breathed it his whole life, but he also is highly intelligent. I mean, I think, he's a guy who sort of experiments in his own schemes, and putting it into software and sort of laying stuff out that way. He's got now experience in the NFL with Carolina as sort of their version of a graduate assistant, and by all accounts is a really outgoing, personable sort of guy too. And it's a pretty short list of guys who have gotten opportunities like this at this young of an age. And you hear the names like Lincoln Riley and other players or other coaches like that who've gone on to bigger things. The flip side, I think you're going to see, at least early on, maybe in the recruiting side of things. There was a transfer portal receiver who I had followed up with, who had gotten a Nebraska offer, who said, he liked Nebraska, but he wasn't so sure about the receivers coach. And it's hard to blame him. Again, when you're coming in and you have one shot to try to get into the NFL, and you see, a 23, 24-year-old who hasn't played the position. So it's a deal where he's going to have to earn it, I think. Obviously, Matt Rule, I think, has an eye for talent. You look at his coaching history with the hires that he's made. He has, in his decade as a head coach, he has a history of identifying young guys who have gone on to bigger and better things. And so this may be another example of that. But again, in the early going, when you're 23, man, you're going to have to prove yourself. And so I think that task is out there for young Garrett McGuire.
It's Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald joining us here. Evan, appreciate the time, and I hope we can get a chance to catch up again next week.
Can't wait. Thanks, guys.
Once again, Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. Coming up next, the shootout with Rico.
Let's
Call
do it.
in now. The Honda of Lincoln hotline, 402-464-5685.
None of you are smarter than me.
No, Rico's the smartest guy in the room.
It's fact.
He knows that. We know that. But maybe, just maybe.
So I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I am the smartest.
You are.
I am the smartest
You are.
among anybody who calls in.
Sure.
Yeah, take
How
that.
do you feel about Big Ten / Nebraska basketball?
Now I feel
Fact-wise.
terrible.
Oh boy. All right.
Not
There's your
great.
chance.
Nope.
$15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings on the line. If you think you know more about some Big Ten teams and some Nebraska basketball statistical leaders, we'll play the shootout next.
Hey guys, this is Lindsay Teal from Nebraska Golf Team. Imagine golfing the best course in the world. St. Andrews, Pebble Beach, Southern Hills, the best of the best. You can play those courses and more without ever leaving the city of Lincoln at Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle has the city's best golf simulators, 5 high-quality bays that track ball speed, launch angle, club speed, spin rate, and more to give you the most accurate gameplay. Check it out for yourself year-round. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine. Sandhills Global is hiring. Check out sandhills.jobs for more information. Sandhills is looking to fill hundreds of new openings in sales, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Sandhills has a professional culture and is fast-paced with a focus on growth, innovation, and leading-edge technologies. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apply today at sandhills.jobs.
What are you doing, Sip? I thought the chickens could use some more light in their lives. So you're building what exactly? It's a motion-censored switchboard. Duh. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Of course. Ow! God! Ow! Seems like a job for a professional. Just one more wire. Yep, there you go, right there. Don't be like Sip. Call Joe at Ambition Electric for any of your electric needs at 402-217-3415.
Pillar Restaurant Group is proud to announce the full opening of our brick-and-mortar venue-at-home store, Lincoln's new premier specialty grocers. This store is home to our brand new Butchery by Venue. Get the finest Nebraska steaks, hand-cut in-house by our butcher, prepared for our restaurant, and available for you to take home. With hand-selected specialty seafood, charcuterie, wine, bourbon, and liquor options. Come in today to see what we have to offer at 70th and Pioneers in the Pioneer Woods Shopping Center. Open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all. O Street Carpet. 1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
It's time to play Shootout with Strick. Call now, 464-5685, to take your shot against Eric Strickland. Shootout with Strick, brought to you by Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Time to play the game.
That's right. We're playing the game, but not against Strick. It's Rico. Woo! You were very confident until I told you the category.
Yep, dude, I talk trash on Strick all the time, so now I got to show up.
You do.
Yeah.
Here's your chance. If you fail, he's not going to let you.
I gotta go 1-0. That's it. I don't know the next time I'll do this, but I just gotta go 1-0 right now.
Fair enough. We go to the Honda of Lincoln hotline and welcome in Christian competing today. Christian, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you guys doing?
We are doing great.
I'm hyped, Christian.
It's up to you to ruin Rico's day. How does that sound?
Don't do it.
Yep, I'm not a huge basketball guy, so you got a chance for sure.
All right. Well, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to give Rico the 5 questions first. So, Christian, you hang right on the line, and we'll see the target score that you need to beat. Rico.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. The shootout begins in 3, 2, and 1. They're the last undefeated Big Ten women's team. Ohio State or Indiana?
Indiana.
No, Ohio State. He leads the Big Ten in scoring. Zach Edey or Chris Murray?
Chris Murray.
Nope, Zach Edey. They're the only men's team with 1 Big Ten win. Minnesota or Indiana?
Indiana.
Yes.
No, yeah.
Oh, she leads Nebraska in rebounding. Izzy Bourne or Alexis Markowski?
Markowski.
Yes. She's the only Nebraska men's player to not miss a free throw yet this season.
Oh. Keisei Tominaga.
Keisei Tominaga is the answer. Yes. You come up big at the end, Rico. That is a 4-point run on the shootout. Well done, Christian.
That's a 3-and-1.
Heck yes. Christian, you need 4 to tie. You need 5 to win. How are you feeling?
We'll see how it goes.
All right. Final answer here. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Shootout begins here in 3, 2, and 1. He leads the Big Ten in field goal percentage. Zach Edey or Dane Danger?
Zach Edey.
Nope, it's Danger. This men's team has 2 of the top 5 rebounders in the Big Ten Conference, Iowa or Maryland?
Iowa.
Yep. She leads Nebraska in assists. Jazz Shelley or Sam Hybe?
Sam Hybe.
Nope, Jazz Shelley. He leads Nebraska in minutes played. Sam Griesel or Emmanuel Bandamel?
Emmanuel Bandamel.
Yep. Nebraska women's basketball's most recent win came against this team.
Minnesota?
It was not Minnesota. The answer, number 20, Kansas. Rico gets it done.
No. As Strick does. Let's go. I'm on it.
Dang.
Christian,
Thanks,
you
guys.
gave it a good run.
Appreciate ya.
Thanks for calling in. Thanks for listening.
It's not over, though, Christian.
It is not. You can hang up. And the third caller here, caller number 3, will earn the $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. Rico, you can hold this over Strick.
Woo! 1-0. 1-0. I'm the best Bellevue West shootout player ever.
Strick did win yesterday.
Doesn't matter. I'm 1,000.
So
he has losses. I don't.
Strick does have losses, so I have been told. So that will be the shootout. Congratulations to Rico. Let's say the tiebreaker just for fun.
Let's
here.
go.
Last night's game, Nebraska, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
How many total fouls were called?
Ooh. 32. No, that seems excessive. That's not true. 27.
How many were there in the first half alone again?
24.
38 for the game.
Holy bananas.
So the answer would have been...
I was like, no, there's no way, because like 3 people would have fouled out. That's a lot of people to play, though. Goodness
Way
gracious.
too many people. Way too many fouls. There were more made free throws in a row, though, by the Miami Heat than there were fouls in the Nebraska-Illinois game.
Well,
which is also crazy to think
you could just say the fact that Nebraska almost had as many fouls as the Miami Heat made free throws, and they made 40. There should never be 38 fouls in a game. Never.
No. Either way, it's crazy. That'll wrap up hour 1 here of On the Block. He's Rico. I'm Austin. Again, congrats, Rico, on the shootout win. Coming up here in hour number 2 on the block, we'll get into the Big Ten West. A lot of change around that division. In the final year of the division, what does that look like? We'll do some NFL buy-sell all before we hit the crossover. Don't go anywhere. Hour 2 of On the Block, presented by Mary Ellen's, comes your way next.
Life-changing research doesn't just take place in outer space. It's also happening right here in Nebraska, and you could play a key role. Solarion, one of the world's leading clinical research organizations, needs healthy adults who are 19 years old and older for a research opportunity. If you qualify, you could earn up to $500 a day for time and travel. Overnight stays may be required. To learn more, call Solarion at 866-213-2965 or visit helpresearch.com/500.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
You know that feeling after a good, hearty meal? The worries of the world just slip away. Time slows down. Nothing but good times and good company. That's what you get with Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Mary Ellen's does food right, with a menu that includes smoked wings, pulled pork, brisket, catfish. And don't sleep on their sides, shrimp and grits, collard greens, baked beans. It's food that makes your heart happy. Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul, just east of 27th and Pine Lane. Let them fix you a plate.
A new year means new goals and upgrading, but that doesn't only apply to health and fitness. Mullen Motors can get you into a new vehicle right now and get your 2023 started off the right way. They cleared off their 2022 inventory and have tons of new vehicles to choose from to make sure you get to where you need to be this year. Out with the old and in with the new. Stop by Mullen Motors today, just north of 48th and Lake.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Shouldn't the landscape around your house reflect the architecture as well as the interior? Whether it's new construction or breathing life into an outdated landscape, let the teams at Tailored Landscapes, Tailored Lights, and Tailored Life combine as your local source for outdoor living. Schedule a meeting with one of our designers who listen during our consultations and combine your preferences, plus our experience to give you a timeless, sustainable, photo shoot-worthy landscape. Call us at 402-432-2572. Find us on any social media or at www.tailoredlandscapes.com, because when you find one company, you find the benefit of three.
Hi, this is Kurt, your shop manager at A1 Automotive here in downtown Lincoln. My promise to you is this: you won't find another automotive repair facility that genuinely cares about you and your vehicle. Our service is outstanding and our customer service is better. Please give me a call for all your automotive repair questions and needs. Call me at 402-477-4660. We were built on small town values, and that shows in how we treat others. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Look at your car. It's filthy and probably has a few dings and nicks all over it. Don't be that guy. Get it upgraded and repaired at Renew Your Auto. At Renew Your Auto, they offer tons of services: ceramic coating, window tinting, paintless dent repair, washes and details, bed liners, body shop, and more. Where can you go to get services like that all in one place? Schedule your appointment today at renewyourauto.com. See what Renew can do for you.
Start planning for the 2023 deer season at the Nebraska Deer and Game Expo. Join us Friday, January 20th through Sunday, January 22nd at the Lancaster Event Center in Lincoln. There are informative hunting seminars, a blind giveaway, hunting and outdoor exhibitors, a big buck and monster shed contest, 3D shoot, and a whole lot more. Veteran owned and operated. Get your tickets at NebraskaDeerAndGameExpo.com. The Nebraska Deer and Game Expo, January 20th through 22nd at the Lancaster Event Center in Lincoln. Presented by Whitetail Properties Real Estate.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Hold up.
You are on the block with 93.7 The Ticket. Welcome into hour 2 of the show. I'm Austin Strick, world traveler Eric Strickland, not with the show today. Should be back tomorrow, have heard otherwise.
He'll be
So
back.
we got the shootout legend himself, Rico.
What can I say? I'm undefeated.
1 for 1.
Nobody can tell me anything. I'm the best. I'm the best.
They wrote you off. You went right back.
I know. They said I was going to go 5-5 or 7-6. But look at me now, my national champion.
Can we talk about how ridiculous that is from
back
Nolan
to
Smith?
back? You guys thought I'd be 5-5, but I'm back to back national champion. Like, Georgia, shut up. I don't know.
7-5 against the spread, maybe, but 7-5 straight up.
I don't know who told any of these players that they were going to go 7-5.
Probably Kirby.
That person is a lot. If Kirby Smart gaslit this team into thinking they would be 7-5, he's the best gaslighter I've ever heard of, because there is no way in hell anybody, they were preseason top 5. I think they were preseason number 3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way in hell anybody thought this team would not be in the college football playoff.
You can use, being ranked number 3 in the preseason as motivation if you're Georgia. Hey, we just won last year. Hey, look what we have back. We got guys back.
Yep. But this is not a more talented team than last year. This is a better, they had an easier schedule.
And it gets easier next year too.
Last year's team was stacked. This year has amazing players, a ton of 5 stars, 4 stars, and guys that have been built up to be really good players. And I said it before, and I'll say it, like, their worst player on their starting roster out of the starting 22, the worst player technically is their quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's
pretty clearly
going to be looked at as one of the better quarterbacks in college football lore, I guess you could say. I don't know if he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football history, but he's going to be looked back, and it's just like, look, he's one of, I don't know, in the past 20-ish years, one of 4 quarterbacks to go back to back. Well, 20 plus, because you're counting Tommy Frazier also.
Right.
So 30 years, he's one of 4 quarterbacks to go back to back. That doesn't happen.
No. Georgia this year is not better than that 95 Nebraska team. They had a better championship performance, though. 65-7. You can't tell me there's been a better championship game performance in college football.
No, I cannot. Although Miami, Nebraska in 2002, it was played in 2002. It was January 2002, the 2001 season.
Yeah.
They called the dogs off.
They did.
They could have put up a lot more points.
But just like Georgia, they had NFL dudes behind NFL dudes.
Exactly. So, yeah, no, in terms of performance, in terms of points scored and points allowed, this is the best performance in a national championship game that I've ever witnessed. Unfortunately, this isn't really something that I wanted to see. I wanted a close game. I wanted a game that, we'll remember this game for years for bad reasons, for TCU being destroyed. Whereas, you remember the Clemson-Alabama game because it's Clemson ran a pick play in the red zone to get Hunter Renfrow a touchdown in the back of the end zone. You remember Tua Tagovailoa coming in for Jalen Hurts and tossing the game-winning touchdown to Devonta Smith before he was even a household name, and won a Heisman, and that started the Tua legacy at Alabama. Like, those are the reasons you remember those games. And this one is going to be, Georgia just took TCU, threw him out the club, closed the door, locked in, was just like, you're not allowed back in here. That's not going to happen.
Never again. Jay Foreman's letting the champ of the Big 12 in the playoff because he has to, not because he wants to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that you had to come in here, and now we're going to send you out because you're not supposed to be here right now.
You know where you are supposed to be for lunch or supper? Mary Ellen's.
Yes.
Huge shout out to Charles and the crew for sponsoring
Love
On
you, Charles.
The Block. Good stuff. We talked about our favorite stuff at the top of the show. You're the ribs guy. You've tried the wings. I'm a brisket guy. I'm a big mac and cheese guy, though.
Oh, the mac and cheese.
I like what they're doing there.
Also. Have you had the collard greens?
I have not had the collard greens.
I'm
Anything
not a fan.
that is a plant, I tend to be averse to eating.
See, same. I had them. They're really good.
Okay.
I don't think I'll have a massive, plate to myself, but I'll put it on there as a side. And it's good. It's good. It's good eating.
What I'm learning is that I have to get ribs, wings, and collard greens next time I go.
Yeah.
I stick to the brisket and mac and cheese because that's what I know. It's
and
what
get some
I like.
beans also.
And beans too?
Just throw, you know what? Just get all of it. Just get all of it.
Sure.
Ribs, brisket, wings, mac and cheese, beans, collard greens, cornbread. He makes some delicious desserts. At least that's what I've been told. I have not tried them yet.
I would love to try more desserts at those places, but the main courses are so good. I eat too much of them.
I just
How are we supposed to get to dessert?
The fried chicken's also delicious.
Room?
I just want
I
just want a whole. I want Charles to make me a whole rack of ribs, and I could just that's for me. Like, that's all I want. Just for me, though. I'm not going to share with anybody. So don't come asking for any. I'm going to eat all of it myself because it's delicious. One day.
One day
I will get a whole rack of ribs from Charles, and I will be the happiest boy on the planet.
We go to the Starter Heyman text line here. Kelsey, Mississippi Mud Dog says, whoa, new guy. My name is Austin.
His name is Austin.
I'm still new, but I have a name.
You're going to be called new guy for a while.
Yeah, I expect
That's
that.
just kind of how it works.
Anyways, they say Florida in 1995 was a better team than this TCU squad, and Nebraska won 62-24, and it could have been worse. Okay, first of all, I wasn't around for it. I'm not old enough to know that. I will.
2.
I'll take for sure that Florida was better, at least relative to the era, than this TCU team. I'd believe that. That game was kind of close in the first half, though. Nebraska pulled away in the second half. Go back and look at the box score, how that breaks down. Florida was hanging around in the first half. Nebraska really flexed in the second half. And obviously the lasting image of that is the Tommy Frazier run through everybody. Again, 95 Nebraska was by far the more dominant team in the regular season. Even against, Georgia's weak schedule, Missouri almost got him. Kentucky almost got him. Tennessee being a 2-touchdown game was impressive at the time, but that wasn't Georgia at its absolute best, especially offensively, given the number of points that TCU put up. So I still will give Georgia the nod for the national championship game only.
Yes.
But obviously 95 Nebraska.
Their performance
overall.
in that one game has got to be the most dominant performance in a national championship game anybody has ever witnessed.
Ryan from Nashville says, stop hating on Bennett. He's a baller. We're not hating on him. We're hating on the rankings, saying that he was the lowest ranked guy. His own coaches were his biggest haters. We totally understand that Stetson Bennett's a good quarterback. Don't get that twisted. I'm not if we
I'm talking about, I'm not dogging him. I'm just saying, I'm talking about if you're looking at high school recruiting rankings, he is clearly the lowest rated, the worst quote unquote player on that starting 22. And he is the best player on that team.
Before the semifinals, I said he was better than CJ Stroud. As a college quarterback, as a pro prospect, CJ Stroud will be better. CJ Stroud is more talented.
CJ Stroud, and I say it. Look, I say this just to mess with Nick. It's in a joking manner, but also there's a little bit of seriousness to it. CJ Stroud never won a Big Ten title, didn't win a Heisman,
didn't beat Michigan,
never beat Michigan. He is a fantastic college quarterback. Don't get that twisted. He is amazing and will be if teams that need quarterbacks are smart and are in the top 5, he will be a top 5 pick. He'll be a top 10 pick easy because there's enough teams that need quarterbacks.
Let's stop him at top 4.
Yeah.
How about that, Indianapolis? Chris Ballard, if you're still around and listening, stop it at top 4.
You would hope so. But he's easily the second best. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft class. But in terms of winning meaningful games at the collegiate ranks,
hasn't done it.
He didn't do it. He didn't win a playoff game.
He beat Utah in the Rose Bowl. That's his best collegiate win.
And if Cam Rising doesn't get hurt, I still believe Utah wins that game. Not this last one. This last one against Penn State. Against Ohio State, I still think Cam Rising and that Utah team beats Ohio State if he doesn't get hurt.
Probably fair. Also, shout out to Brian and Cornhusk SF27 listening on YouTube. Well, we're going to stick in the Big Ten here, this segment, specifically the West and all the changes going on. We know what's happened here in Lincoln with Matt Rule, the staff additions, the guys who are in and the guys who are out from the team. What else is going on in a division that is really in flux, Rico? We'll work from last year's standings, go from the top down. These top 2 teams, I think, are good to talk about back-to-back because of how the changes affect them. Jeff Brom's gone from Purdue. He's coaching Louisville. It was only a matter of time. It officially happened this offseason. Not only is Jeff Brom departing, so is Aiden O'Connell, the 18th-year college quarterback.
Finally.
Yeah, he was around forever. Good college quarterback. Don't know if he gets an NFL look for anything more than a backup job. He's a smart enough guy. I'm sure he could be around. But those 2 guys were that program, especially last season. Yeah, I know Charlie Jones, this and that, but Aiden O'Connell was the heart and soul of that program. Jeff Brom got Purdue back to respectable after how bad that program was in the early days of the Big Ten West.
So quick question. I'm sorry to get it off topic. Does Nebraska have any guys that Big Ten teams look at and they're like, oh, that guy's finally gone? Because that's something that we've mentioned in the Big Ten is to get old and stay old. And like we look at all these teams and we're like, oh, this guy's been at Purdue, at Wisconsin, at Iowa, at Minnesota for so long. Like, oh my gosh, they're here for their 20th year in college. Does Nebraska have anybody like that Big Ten teams look at and they're like, oh, wow, this guy's on his 17th year. Like, finally, he's going to leave?
I would say no. The closest I think you get to that is Garrett Nelson, but I don't think that counts.
I don't think so. Because a lot of times it's people that were either annoyingly good or actually really good.
Henrich might turn into one of those.
He has 2 years left.
That's what I'm saying. He might turn
So
into
does
one of
Reimer,
those.
technically.
Yeah. I could see those two guys in a couple years.
Okay.
I'm a little surprised Quentin Newsom's back. I don't think he's one of those guys you say, oh, he's been there forever.
Mm-hmm.
But again, after this season, I'm sure some people say, oh, he was, projected as maybe a draft pick or at least a free agent guy. Oh, he's back. But no one to that Aiden O'Connell level, that Tanner Morgan level.
Muhammad Ibrahim.
Right. No one to that level at all.
Randy says Braxton Clark, but he's not that good. Braxton Clark, I believe a couple years ago before he got hurt, was in line to be the second corner. But then he got hurt.
Yeah.
And then just hasn't.
And then if he doesn't fall down in the back of the end zone against Wisconsin, Nebraska wins that game.
You seem upset.
So upset. Not that it would have mattered. Nebraska still doesn't go to a bowl game. But imagine back-to-back weeks, you pick off Wisconsin, Iowa.
That would have been fun.
You dominated that first half.
Should have won that game.
Should have won that game.
Oh, well.
Anyways, Purdue and Illinois. Jeff Brom gone. Aiden O'Connell gone.
Mm-hmm.
The guy they bring in as head coach, Ryan Walters, Illinois' defensive coordinator.
Illinois had a good defense.
Curious to see how that plays out for, number one, Purdue and kind of the mindset shift from, offensive wunderkind Jeff Brom to...
Air it out.
Right, to Ryan Walters, who did the exact opposite of that with Brett Bielema, and who ran a really good defense. Credit Purdue's defense. It was better than I thought it was going to be this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're going to be in a bad spot. I wouldn't pick them to win the division next year, but in Illinois, man, that defense was so good. Depending on who they get to replace him, I don't buy Illinois at second in the division next year either, but I love the move to get Walters for Purdue, and I'm curious to see where Illinois goes on the defensive side of the ball now.
Purdue's going to be really weird to see them, maybe not airing the ball out as much and playing, hopefully, some solid defense. Because look, I want these teams to be good. I want them to be bad enough to lose to Nebraska, but I want them to be good. So it's going to be weird seeing Purdue doing that. And then Illinois, depending on who they get to replace him, I still think they're going to be one of the better teams in the West just because Brett Bielema is a fantastic coach. They are going to have to replace their quarterback, I believe, because the transfer from Syracuse that I cannot remember, DeVito,
is listed on the roster as a graduate.
Is he?
Yep.
Yeah,
he's another one of those guys.
So, we'll see what happens. But I still think Illinois is going to be one of the better teams in the West. Purdue probably take a step back, but I think Walters will have a pretty good season. Thank you, Byron. Purdue hired an air raid offensive coordinator, so maybe they're not. Maybe they're going to play great defense and keep airing it out. Although that seems like a very hard thing to do.
It really does. We've seen how that's gone in Lincoln. The answer is not so well. Illinois has a heck of a quarterback name, though. Not Art Sitkowski. He's still around too. If it's not Tommy DeVito, it'd be Art Sitkowski.
How is Sitkowski still? That's another guy. How is he still around?
I don't know. They have one of the most Texas names ever. And I bet this guy comes from the southeast part of Texas, kind of Houston-ish area.
I'm interested.
Kirkland Michaud.
Whoa.
French last name, first name Kirkland.
Kirkland Michaud.
Yeah, that's a Texas 7-on-7 quarterback name I've ever heard.
He's from the southeast portion of Texas, almost Louisiana.
He's listed as being from Austin, Texas, but I do not believe that.
I don't believe you. His team, his family moved him there so that he could play better high school teams.
That they did. So Purdue and Illinois, those are their changes. The next team in order of the standings is Iowa. We know what the changes were. You get Cade McNamara in at quarterback. You get Eric All at tight end to pair with Luke Lachey. I think that could be good for the Hawkeyes.
I hate it.
Unfortunately good across there. Another big change on the defensive end is Jack Campbell gone. Dude's a stud. Dude's getting drafted no later than day 2. He's going to have a long NFL career, barring injury, obviously. The biggest change for Iowa, though, is one that didn't happen. Kirk Ferentz still around. Brian Ferentz still around. It's cool that you get McNamara. It's cool that you bring Eric Allen. It's cool that you had a running back develop late in the year and kind of take over. But Brian Ferentz is still in charge. How?
Nepotism. It's his son. He doesn't want to move on from him unless he has a better job waiting for him. He doesn't just want to hang him out high and dry and fire him. So we'll see what goes on there. But I mean, he has a better quarterback. He has another talented tight end. He's got a better running back. As you just said, he developed as the season went along. They're going to have a good offensive line. They're going to have a solid defense. They're going to get their turnovers on the defensive side of things. It all depends on if Brian Ferentz can get that offense turned around with Cade McNamara, because Look, if you look at Cade and you look at what he is head and shoulders above what they had. So you would think their offense would take a step forward, but that, again, depends on the play calling from Brian Ferentz. It seems, though, Iowa always has that year where they're extremely good and maybe they're undefeated in the regular season and then they go on and lose in the bowl game. Maybe it's that time again for them. Maybe it's that really good Iowa season again. I don't know, but as long as Kirk Ferentz has been there, they're really good one year and then solid every other year. So we'll see exactly what happens, but I'm not going to pick Iowa to be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten West. For now, I'll throw them back into the top 3 where they usually finish.
Here's Iowa's schedule next year. Mediocre non-con, Utah State, at Iowa State, and then Western Michigan.
Those are 3 wins.
Most likely. You open conference play up in Happy Valley.
Ooh.
That's tough.
But it's Happy Valley without Sean Clifford, which is a good thing.
That's an improvement for Penn State with Drew Aller there. Then after that, you get Michigan State at home, and then you get Purdue at home. Middle of Wisconsin, you go to Camp Randall. Then you get Minnesota at home. Your bye week is the last week in October. So you get Minnesota and Wisconsin right before the bye week. You rest up. You get Northwestern in Evanston. And then you have Rutgers at Kinnick, Illinois at Kinnick before finishing at Nebraska.
Dude, Iowa might only lose one game. That Happy Valley game. If you look at the Big Ten
Will
West,
Wisconsin be informed?
I don't know. That's the thing. Is if you look at the Big Ten West right now, you look at Iowa, who's consistent every single year when it comes to their coaching staff. They have the same people. They have the same head coach. So it's the same philosophy year in and year out. Then you look at all of the changes in the Big Ten West. You look at Nebraska's changing their coaching staff. Purdue's changing their coaching staff. Wisconsin's changing their coaching staff and their entire identity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that you could look at that for Iowa, although Nebraska did beat Iowa last year. Again, it's a different coaching staff. It's a different identity for Nebraska. If Iowa does beat them, like that's 3 wins for Nebraska just going off of the fact that they're new coaching staffs. And I understand, just because it's a new coaching staff doesn't mean they're going to lose. Look at Sonny Dykes, whatever. I don't care. You say that Kirk Ferentz beats those 3 new coaching staffs. The rest of the Big Ten West, Iowa's pretty solid against. Illinois probably be their toughest test in the division. And then their crossover games seem pretty simple outside of going to Happy Valley. Their non-con games, very easy. Utah State was the worst team in college football last year.
Very bad.
Iowa State wasn't that great last year. Iowa found a way to beat. I think they beat them, right?
No, Iowa State.
Won last year. But again, hopefully for them, an improved offense for Iowa, and still a solid defense for them. You could just say, I'm just going to say they're going to go undefeated in non-con. I mean, you look at that schedule, I see 1 loss, maybe 2, depending on when the Illinois game is played. Is it at night? Because weird things happen in Kinnick at night.
See, when I think weird things happen in Kinnick at night, I think more Ohio State comes to town.
Well, if Illinois,
top 5,
if Illinois kind of has a repeat of what they did last year, that's a ranked team coming into Kinnick.
Yeah, but my guess would be I would be ranked at that point too.
Yeah,
be my guess.
But it's still, it almost feels as if they don't lose at night in Kinnick.
Very rarely. We'll get to Wisconsin in a second. They're the one that fascinates me most in the division. But Minnesota, I think, is in a very similar boat to Purdue, where Kirk Ciarrocca is now gone to Rutgers.
That's weird.
That one kind of blows my mind. I know there are connections behind the scenes and where he came from, where he started, but that's still really weird to go from Minnesota to Rutgers.
He's getting paid more. I don't know if he is. It's the birthplace of college football.
I guess.
Who wouldn't want to go there? Come on.
Voice of Huskers, Greg Sharp never takes a trip to Rutgers if he can avoid it.
You're lying to yourself.
I don't care if New York City's just a 30-minute bus ride away.
It's right there,
I don't
man.
care. I'm
That's
not going
New
to
York.
Rutgers. You can't make me.
Just like Northwestern is Chicago's Big Ten team, Rutgers is New York's Big Ten team. Neither of those.
Hey, they get Big Ten Network out there.
Neither of those is true, but that's what they like to say.
Yeah, something like that. So no Kirk Ciarrocca.
All right.
No Tanner Morgan. Kelly McManus looked good against Nebraska. Less good the more the season went on. Again, another game that Nebraska could have won. I guess they should have won.
Should have won.
But could have won.
It should have won. Ty Robinson, how dare you hit Tanner Morgan so hard?
I guess.
No Mo Ibrahim.
No Mo Ibrahim either. That's a team in transition on the offensive side. As long as the defensive staff stays in place. I mean, Minnesota's a top 5 scoring defense, or like the entirety of the season, which I didn't expect. There were a whole lot of guys whose names I'd never heard of on that defense. Clearly, the coaching staff has something going. If not Phil Parker level wizardry, very close to it. So I think Minnesota will be kind of in that same, 8-4, 7-5, 9-3 range. And that brings us to Wisconsin, the team they play for the Axe every year.
I don't know what is going to happen. Wisconsin is the biggest what the heck is going on, because they went away from the tree of Barry Alvarez for the first time in Lord knows how long, which then led to that head coach hiring and I believe that Fickle's a defensive-minded head coach.
Yep.
Hires an air raid offense,
and not just any air raid OC. Phil Longo, whose quarterback Drake May led the nation in passing yards,
like the air raid OC right now. And that is not Wisconsin football. So it seems as if they're going away from the, play amazing defense and run the ball and just hold on to it for as long as possible and score 14 points and win the game. And they're going to try and outscore everybody, which, if people remember, that was kind of the approach that Nebraska took when they switched things up. You went with a Mike Riley who's, more of an offensive-minded kind of guy, and things have gone downhill since then. I'm not saying things are going to go downhill for Wisconsin, but it's an interesting case study to see what changing your entire traditional play calling and tradition can do to a university. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. And they're also apparently QBU getting like 4 transfer quarterbacks this offseason.
It's crazy to me to think that, number one, Wisconsin is going air raid. And number two, that Wisconsin is going air raid when Braylon Allen is still on campus.
And he's not leaving.
No, he's sticking around. Braylon Allen has caught 21 passes in 2 years, which is basically more than Jonathan Taylor ever caught.
I was going to ask, how often do they throw the ball to him out of the backfield?
Yeah, 21 times over 2 years. His freshman year, 8 for 39. And then last year, 13 for 104. So they don't throw it to running backs a whole lot in the old Wisconsin way. When I look at what they're doing, I see what Nebraska tried to do. Spread it out offense, chuck it around, get a lot of points on the board with a tough defense. We know Cincinnati has played really good defense under Luke Fickell. Put dudes in the league. He did. Mike Tressel is the DC now at Wisconsin too, by the way. My head tells me they're doing what Nebraska did. We saw how this goes. They're trying to trick themselves into thinking it'll work. My gut and my heart tell me, though, that of course it's going to work. It's Wisconsin. Of course it didn't work. It's Nebraska. It would be so Wisconsin
for it to work.
For it to work. I know how drastic a change it is. I know that it didn't work here at Nebraska, but because it's anywhere but Nebraska, I'm talking myself into this working for them.
I still don't see it.
I don't want to see it. I'm talking myself into it, though.
I just don't see it. And it's not, I'm not a Big Ten purist. Like, if you're in the Big Ten, you have to run the ball and you have to play tough defense. But the more and more that the longer that Nebraska's been in this league, it seems as if you don't have a good running game, if you don't have a really good defense, not great, but solid defense, you're not going to win many games in this league. And Luke Fickell can coach defense. He can coach defense with the best of them. We've seen that. But offensively, Wisconsin has just done the same thing for so long. Their offensive line is just their offensive line is on average bigger than the Green Bay Packers offensive line year in and year out. And now you're going to ask those guys to protect the quarterback for most of the game and not run forward, find a body, and throw them into the ground. It's going to be a change, but as you said, it's Wisconsin. Maybe it'll work, but in my heart of hearts, I just don't see, without the talent level of an Ohio State, a team able to chuck the ball around the yard in this northern weather, in this Big Ten style, and win the conference.
That's the way that the Big Ten West has been, but the way college football has been is that you've got to be able to throw to win. You throw to score, you run to win, I guess is the maxim in college sports. So I think it's a good big picture move for Wisconsin. We'll see how they can execute.
That's what it seemed like they were doing when they fired now I can't think of his name.
Christ?
Yeah, when they fired potty mouth Paul Christ. it seemed as if they were building towards the future, building towards the addition of UCLA and USC and the expansion of the playoff and having to go up against those, Southern teams, those out West teams who are going to throw the ball around, who are going to have, defenses that are more suited towards playing against those type of teams. So it's going to be really interesting going forward. You still have another year, I believe, without those California schools, and it's going to be fun to see Wisconsin chucking it around. It might be kind of like the Georgia Tech couple of years where they went from triple option to a more, nowadays offense.
Right.
And they struggled because they didn't have the receivers to throw the ball to.
And also because Jeff Collins.
Yeah.
Turned out not to be a great hire.
Although Calvin Johnson went to Georgia Tech, which is still weird.
I know. Bizarre to think about. Final team in the Big Ten West before we take a break. Northwestern. One big change for them is that defensive coordinator. They hired North Dakota State's DC. Last time we saw him, he was getting torched by Mark Gronowski and the Jacks, the Yankee Twins and co. 45-21, South Dakota State beats North Dakota State. Does defensive coordinator matter that much at Northwestern given Fitz's background? That's my question.
I would think so. Because I don't think he's calling the defensive plays. Yes, he's a defensive-minded guy. He was a linebacker. He's got, defense on his brain all the time. But I think he hires a defensive coordinator that he believes matches up in alignment with his thought process and his play calls that he thinks he would call at the same time. So I don't think he's going to be, that hands-on unless he perceives that it's not really going to work. So although he's more of a defensive-minded guy, I think the hire of a defense coordinator is very important to him because he's hands-off and he's going to let that person do what that person has to do. He trusts that person so much. I think that might be one of these hires.
Does Northwestern get to 3 wins next year? They had one last year. We all know which one that was.
We're going to talk about that. I have to check their schedule because I want to see their non-con, even though they played Duke and lost, and they lost to a group of 5 team.
2023 Northwestern football schedule. Open up at Rutgers, host UTEP.
So the Rutgers Northwestern game, not good in terms of play call, but good in terms of maybe the score could be closer.
Sure. Host UTEP, go to Duke.
Okay.
Minnesota at home, Penn State at home, Howard at home.
Okay.
At Nebraska, host Maryland and Iowa, at Wisconsin, host Purdue, at Illinois.
Oh, goodness gracious.
3.5 over under.
That's a good line because I think they win 2. Howard and UTEP.
I wouldn't be shocked.
They could.
They'll play someone closer
Rutgers?
than they'll play someone closer than
Nebraska.
they should in the Big Ten.
It's Nebraska.
Yes.
It's always Nebraska.
Yeah, and that big rivalry game with Illinois. Don't forget that one.
They're going to get blown out by Illinois.
That's the hope. I'm not a Cats fan.
Yeah, I'm going to put it at 2. That's my guess.
Okay.
So the line at 3.5 works.
Sure. It's going to be tight. Northwestern is going to be better. How much better? Probably not much.
Gracious.
When we come back, 5 NFL head coach openings. Rico, where are you going? Which is the most desirable?
Ooh.
Who fills it first? We'll get into that and more on the block.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. Need stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best indoor golf simulators. It's perfect for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Ever think of having a career in plumbing or heating? Do you enjoy watching your favorite game in a nice, comfortable space? Taking a shower after a warm day? Well, everyone we serve at Biggerstaff Plumbing, Heating, and Air sure does. If you're interested in a career in plumbing, heating, and air, come join our team where you'll get paid while training. No experience required. Enjoy great pay and benefits in a friendly environment. Call Biggerstaff Plumbing, Heating, and Air at 402-466-8118 or apply online at biggerstaffs.com.
Tractor Supply is looking for full-time team members for their Waverly Distribution Center. Tractor Supply has a new progressive pay model where team members receive 5 wage increases in the first 2 years of employment with the ability to earn up to $24 per hour. Applicants can expect a 3- and 4-day work week schedule with additional overtime days with both day and night shift schedules available. At Tractor Supply, they work hard, have fun, and make money. Apply today at tractorsupply.jobs.
This is Sam Griesel from the Nebraska men's basketball team. I'm here to tell you about my favorite men's store in Nebraska, and that's Gary Michaels Clothiers in Lincoln. When I went off to college, I purchased my suit from them and another when I attended Big Ten Media Day. Their fashion sense, clothing knowledge, and tailoring is unparalleled. Simply said, no one does it better than Gary Michaels Clothiers, located in Village Gardens, 56th and Pine Lake Road, Lincoln.
Acres, your John Deere dealer, is offering blowout savings on in-stock 2022 compact tractors and mowers. Make quick work at chores around your acreage and save over $4,000 on select John Deere compact tractors equipped with a loader and rear blade. Or save up to $1,000 on select 2022 John Deere Z-Trax and lawn tractors. Visit your local Acres store or acres.com to get these great discounts. Acres, solutions for every field. Discounts available on in-stock units while supplies last.
Hi, I'm Charlie Stone, and I'm back with Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, you said to me earlier you have a lot going on at the dealership. Can you tell our listeners about it?
Sure can, Charlie. As I've said before, if you don't see a vehicle on our lot that you're looking for, it's probably on its way soon.
So, how many new Hondas do you have in stock or on the way?
We have a total of over 325, Charlie, with a great selection of Pilots and Ridgelines in stock right now.
Well, we have been talking about the Honda of Lincoln way of buying cars for several months. How is that going?
People love it. We're buying all makes and models, whether they purchased a car from us or not. I mean, really, it's a no hassle, and we will pay them cash on the same day.
Come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Now on the block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. We're still here on the block. Austin and Rico Strick should be back with us tomorrow. We were going to talk NFL head coach openings,
but something
5
happened.
spots. But this is why we keep Twitter open during the show. Stuff comes up. Big thanks to Brett McMurphy on this one. He's with the Action Network. He posted a couple of final coaches polls, at least the top 6. We'll start with the national champion head coach for a baseline here. Kirby Smart's final coaches poll ballot top 6. He ranked his team number 1. Shocker. Should have done. They won it.
Mm-hmm.
Puts TCU number 2, Michigan 3, Ohio State 4. Nothing to quibble with there. That's how it shook out. That's how it was. Makes perfect sense to me. At number 5, I don't want to call it a spicy pick because I can see an argument for it, especially if this team is at full strength. By the end of the year, probably not. But Kirby has Tennessee at number 5. Okay.
I guess.
Number 6, he has Alabama. Also defensible, given the way their season went. Played well in the win over K-State in the Sugar Bowl. Good for them on that one. But a down year by Bama standards.
Yeah, they had 2 losses.
They did. And they lost to teams that were clearly better than them.
They had 2 losses.
Well, not clearly. I guess the LSU one is a little fluky, but Tennessee was better than Bama this year.
They had 2 losses by a combined, 3 points?
Yes. So that's Kirby Smart's ballot. Let's flip to.
It makes sense.
It does.
The national champion, the other team that played was at the national championship game. I wouldn't say played; they were there. And then the 2 teams that were also in the playoffs, you could flip flop those however you want, but one of them beat the other, so it makes sense to have them above them. Tennessee, who was until their quarterback tore his ACL, was probably on track to be another playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alabama, who's Alabama. It makes sense.
It does. Totally defensible by Kirby. Nick Saban's, on the other hand,
Nick
Saban went Nick Saban on this one.
Nick, what are you doing?
Again, I will say this going in. There's a difference between sticking up for your guys, believing in them, and just being ridiculous. Nick Saban's being ridiculous here. He does put Georgia number 1, probably out of some sense of obligation. I don't think he wanted to.
No, he definitely didn't. That's his former assistant. He doesn't lose to his former assistants.
He used to not. He has 2 years in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 on Nick Saban's ballot is his own Crimson Tide. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
what are we doing here?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
No. Refuse to believe it. Nick Saban puts Alabama at number 2 on his ballot. Again, I get sticking up for your guys. I get believing in your team. Come on. You did not have a legitimate argument to get in the playoffs this year.
Austin. Nick Saban and Alabama beat Kansas State. Kansas State beat TCU. TCU beat Michigan. Michigan beat Ohio State. Those 3 teams were in the playoff. Ipso facto, Alabama beat all 3 of those teams. They're number 2.
Nick Saban is the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia guy with the strings.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Look.
Come on, man.
One line connects the other. Alabama's number 2.
TCU 3, Michigan 4, Ohio State 5, Tennessee 6 round out Nick Saban's ballot.
Yeah, Alabama's better than the team that beat them.
Any other year, I could buy an argument that Bama was more talented. Alabama was not more talented than Ohio State this year.
No.
Alabama
I think Alabama
maybe more talented than Michigan, but it didn't bear out on the field.
No, I think Alabama would have beaten Ohio State this year just because
both teams were kind of dinged up.
So Alabama's defense was iffy this season. Ohio State's defense was iffy this season. I think Alabama and the physicality that they can play with a Jahmyr Gibbs at running back would have beaten Ohio State the same way that Michigan did.
I can see an argument for it. My guess would be that Ohio State keeps it a little closer. Against Bama. Bama still probably wins that game.
Jay Foreman said this multiple times. Michigan, the last 2 years, has played perfect the 2 times they've beaten Ohio State.
Pretty much.
And he said it multiple times also. What are the odds you play perfect, going into the playoff? They didn't. What are the odds you play perfect a 3rd year in a row against Ohio State? Not very likely.
Pretty slim. I will say I didn't get a chance to bring this up before it happened, but I was really high on Michigan entering the playoff this year because of how they beat Ohio State. Ohio State pretty much took the run game away in the first half. It was big plays for Michigan in the passing game that we hadn't seen out of them. And that gave me confidence that they could, match TCU on that level. Clearly did not happen.
Oh, they matched them.
Well, it matched up against them. Did not match.
They were going blow for blow for a while. 2 pick sixes will kind of do that to you, though.
It will. Here's another thing I want to talk about: Tennessee. Not a fan base, not a program that I pay a lot of attention to. I think they've been written off in the SEC, given how those sports have gone recently. Basketball's had an uptick with Rick Barnes. The 2 sports I want to focus on, though, especially this last season for both of them, in football and baseball. That baseball team was the clear overall deserving number 1 seed coming to Omaha. Blew up in their face. I don't know if that was, just the wrong mix of too much swagger, not playing your best ball at the right time, but clearly that was a talented team for Tennessee last year. They, I think, got their comeuppance more like Arizona as the 2 seed in March Madness. Tennessee football, though, Hendon Hooker's injury, it's a completely different story. They could have had 2 national championships in Knoxville this year if the baseball team gets its head screwed on straight and if Hendon Hooker doesn't get hurt.
That's going to be a big what if in the college football annals of history is what if Hendon Hooker doesn't get hurt?
Georgia was clearly better than Tennessee. They beat him in the regular season. Give Tennessee a second shot, especially after the way
it's hard to beat a team twice.
Ohio State opened things up. I'm just saying Tennessee might have had a shot in the matchup.
It would have been a good game. At least.
You think it would have been better than 65-7? Are you going to go out on that limb?
I think
Are you willing to step out that
I think
far?
I might go out on that limb and say that Tennessee probably also handles TCU. Not to the tune of 65-7, but they handle TCU, and Georgia doesn't handle Tennessee to that level. I think I'll go out on a limb and say that. If Hendon Hooker is healthy.
I think that limit's strong enough. You and I can comfortably step out there.
Yeah, I think
and not feel bad about having to hold on for dear life.
I think I might stand there for a while.
Sure. Real quick before we get to the crossover with old school, I want to touch on the NFL head coach openings. There are 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Panthers, the Cardinals, the Colts, the Broncos, and the Texans all open. You have your choice. All 5 want you. How are you ranking those jobs in order of desirability?
Texans last.
Okay.
Panthers second to last. No, Broncos second to last. They don't have their own first-round pick. Panthers third. Cardinals second. Colts first.
Okay. I'm with you in Houston's last. Don't trust that front office. I really don't. I'll put Denver second to last as well because of that division. It's still Kansas City's division. I know you have a really good defense in place. I know you have some offensive weapons around there. But if you're stuck with Russell Wilson and no first-round pick, and you're in that division,
yeah.
Again, the division wasn't as good this season as we thought it was going to be. Chargers didn't play up to their level. Raiders obviously didn't. We know what happened in Denver.
Denver's defense is good enough to win that division. Denver's defense is good enough to win that division.
Isn't as elite as Kansas City's offense is.
No, but it's strong enough that it can hold, and it's done it time and time again, hold Kansas City to under their regular scoring output and put a scare into them if their offense is average. If Russell Wilson is an average quarterback, Denver puts a scare into Kansas City.
Do you know how many times straight it is Kansas City has beaten Denver? 15.
Yeah.
Kansas City owns that series right now.
I know they do, but there have been a lot more close games, especially in Denver, than there have been, Kansas City just manhandling them like they do with, and that's just what it is in the division, is these teams know you. They play you twice. You're not going to manhandle them both times.
Probably not.
Maybe once. You'll get them in Kansas City. But when you go to those places, it's a little harder.
It sure is. I'll put the Colts at number 3.
Okay.
I was a strong Jim Irsay guy before the season. I thought he did a good job of not repeating the sins of his father in meddling and stepping in, threw all that goodwill out the window with me. I still think the right coach, but really the right leader, can get that team, back to playing at least a playoff caliber team level. I think Frank Reich's voice got a little tired. I think injuries played a part in it. I mean, Shaq Leonard barely played this season. The offensive line was banged up. Some of that is on Chris Ballard because it has to be. Some of it's on the players. Some of it's on the coaching. So I think if I'm a coach and I get assurances from Irsay he'll stay out and that I trust in Chris Ballard, it could be okay. I'll put the Cardinals at number 2. San Francisco is a lot better this year than I gave them credit for. Seattle shocked the world. They
Not
really
supposed to happen.
No. I still think Phoenix is a good enough free agent destination, and you're going to have a new GM that's going to be hiring you. That's most likely 3 to 4 years that you have to work with something. Now that there's a whole lot there in Arizona, but if Kyler Murray comes back healthy, you have an above average NFL quarterback there.
I can get a first-round pick for Kyler Murray.
Or you can do that.
Multiple first-round picks for Kyler Murray.
Or you can go that route. That works too.
That's 100% the route I'm going.
And I'm going to put Carolina at number 1 because of the division they play in. Tom Brady's leaving.
Yep.
The Bucs defense is good. What do they have at quarterback? And how old are they?
That's true.
They're very old. The Saints, Dennis Allen, I'm not sold on. I doubt Sean Payton is coming back to New Orleans if he gets back into coaching. Again, another solid defense, but not world-beating. And who the heck knows what's going on in Atlanta? Does that franchise know what it is, what it wants?
Desmond Ridder is the future.
I guess.
I put their over-under wins at 7.5. They won 7. I was really close.
Good line. Great line. But right now, 7 feels like it for Atlanta.
It.
Granted, that's probably enough to win the division some year.
Although, for the first, 6 weeks of the season, they decided that Kyle Pitts should not be a receiving tight end. He should be a blocking tight end, which made zero sense and could have contributed to a couple losses.
Good job, Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
Well done. That's why they hired you.
Yeah, 100%. You take this guy who's an elite athlete at tight end, who you can also use a receiver, and you put him in line and you say, hey, you know what you should do? Block.
Right.
That sounds like a great idea.
The other thing that a lot of people are probably going to call me crazy for this. I'm not a full believer in this guy, but Carolina's offensive line is good enough that Sam Darnold looked not the worst behind it by the end of the season.
Sam Darnold.
A solid defense with some pieces there, but a solid Sam Darnold you can at least work with as a bridge type guy if you can go trade for someone you like better or, trade up for a high pick.
Sam Darnold looked like the best Jets quarterback this season. Well, second best behind Mike White.
Mike White. Now there's a guy.
That was a surprise.
Now here's a guy.
No, I have the Colts at number 1 just because, like you said, they had a bunch of injuries. They're going to have, hopefully next year, their offensive line back to 100%, Shaq Leonard back to 100%, and that defense is solid. It's passable. It's pretty good. The offensive line, when it's healthy, is elite. You have the number 4 pick in the draft. Don't be stupid. Don't overthink it.
Are you saying the Colts are the Warriors when they drafted Jonathan Kuminga?
If one of those two is there, take him. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud.
Not Levis. Please
do
no.
not overthink
Do not take
it.
Will Levis. No.
If both of them are gone, do not take a quarterback because nobody else is worth a top 5 pick.
The only guy I don't want Indy to take in the top 5 is Jalen Carter. Again, that guy's really good. I get it. He played an integral role in that Georgia team. You have DeForest Buckner and you have Grover Stewart.
I would say your defense
should have been an all-pro this year.
Your defensive line is fine.
Yes.
Your defensive line is good.
I will take Will Anderson as a rusher. Colts haven't had a whole lot of pass rush juice. Kwity Paye had his moments, but again, kind of nicked up here
Will
and there.
Anderson will be gone.
Will he, though?
Will Anderson will be gone.
Will Anderson probably should
be gone.
He should be. So if
I saw a mock draft where Jalen Carter went number 1.
I would love that for the Colts.
That is
resist the temptation.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
He's a better pick than his teammate from last year, Travon Walker, in that spot.
What are you doing?
I trust Jalen Carter more. I know he doesn't play a premium
Hey, Travon
position.
Walker had 4.5 sacks this year.
I know, but Jalen Carter at least dominated in college. Travon Walker had flashes. Jalen Carter
was a weird
pick. The mountain.
Yeah, it was a weird pick.
Aiden Hutchinson, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah? No. Sauce Gardner.
Sauce Gardner's good. Or the corner in Seattle.
Is he a rookie?
Tariq Woolen.
Yeah. That's another good one.
I think that's your race.
I think it's Sauce. Because you got to think.
That Jets defense was pretty saucy.
And the flash, the panache.
Yes. Wearing the cheese hat out of Lambeau.
It's part of it. No matter how much you want to say it's just about play, it's also about a face.
And he's got the media market for it.
He's one of the faces of that rookie defensive class. Plus he has the name, Sauce.
That he does. Well, that'll just about put a bow here on the block. Coming up next, we'll cross it over with old school DP&J in the building after this.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
Hey, it's Nicklin Hames from Nebraska Volleyball. I hate wasting time in practice, and I want to help you stop wasting your time when you're looking for an electrician. High Electric has been serving the area for over 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They are experts in everything like remodeling, new additions, hot tub installation, and more. They take jobs from Beatrice to Omaha's, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at high-electric.com.
Mike Schaefer here for Trek CBD. It's basketball season, and that means you're fighting cold weather and snow to get to the arena, waiting for lines at the game, and yelling too much at the refs. Trek CBD has a variety of products to help calm me down during the game so I don't go over the top. And they have a variety of options to calm you down before, during, and after any game. Whether you're looking for drinkable Delta 8 seltzers, hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups for your beverages, or anything else, Trek CBD has it all at 84th and Anderson. Trek CBD, CBD done right.
A new year means new goals and upgrading, but that doesn't only apply to health and fitness. Mullen Motors can get you into a new vehicle right now and get your 2020 started off the right way. They cleared off their 2022 inventory and have tons of vehicles to choose from to make sure you get where you need to be this year. Out with the old and in with the new. Stop by Mullen Motors today, just north of 48th and Lake.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
The Empire brand is growing with ESC fabrication and sandblasting. ESC is your place for custom handrails, industrial and commercial painting, and more. ESC provides custom welding for aluminum and stainless steel and media blasting of all sorts. ESC has great attention to detail. They stick to deadlines and keep within your budget. If you can dream it, they can make it. Contact ESC Fabrication and Sandblasting in Waverly today at 531-207-9329.
Sandhills Global is hiring. Check out sandhills.jobs for more information. Sandhills is looking to fill hundreds of new openings in sales, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Sandhills has a professional culture and is fast-paced with a focus on growth, innovation, and leading-edge technologies. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apply today at sandhills.jobs.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Shouldn't the landscape around your house reflect the architecture as well as the interior? Whether it's new construction or breathing life into an outdated landscape, let the teams at Tailored Landscapes, Tailored Lights, and Tailored Combine as your local source, one of our designers who listen during our consultations and combine your preferences, plus our experience to give you a timeless, sustainable, photo shoot-worthy landscape. Call us at 402-432-2572. Find us on any social media or at www.tailoredlandscapes.com, because when you find one company, you find the benefit of three.
The Ticket Water Cooler with Jake Bakoven and Enrique Alvarez-Clary.
The Big Ten feels like a missed opportunity here. You had two teams in the playoffs, not one making the
I would say it's a missed opportunity for Michigan. I think that's the worst of the two. I think Ohio State, honestly, one kick away from going back to the national championship game. Ohio State doing that, I think that looks good for the Big Ten, although they didn't win. But Michigan losing to TCU, not a great look for the Wolverines.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back one final time here on the block. I'm Austin. He's Rico, joined by the old school crew. We got DP and J in the building. DPJ, welcome. How we doing today, gents?
It's all good in the hood.
Sure. Glad to hear it.
You guys see Kirby Smart and Nick Saban's final coaches poll votes?
No. Nope.
You'll never guess who Nick Saban put at number 2.
Georgia. Alabama.
He put Bama at number 2.
Georgia 1, Bama 2, TCU, Michigan, 3. Ohio State, Tennessee.
That's about right.
Let him know.
I would have probably switched Ohio State, but yeah.
And then Kirby Smart had Georgia, TCU, Michigan, Ohio State, Tennessee, Bama.
Oh, that's just straight petty.
Oh, they Petty Paul. He couldn't resist.
SEC coaches
couldn't resist, man. Well, you know,
that's just to make the game a little more juicy next year.
I just want to be at the SEC conference.
They just do that.
Coaches deal.
They all work. They all work together. They do this in the off season just to bring the just like him and Jimbo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then they up there probably drinking scotch or whatever,
just hanging out.
Yeah.
The best scotch.
It's a scotch that you don't even know exists.
It's
right.
competitive. It's competitive.
Right.
And Kirby Smart did it because he won back-to-back national championships, but Nick Saban beat him in recruiting. He's learned from the master.
Mm-hmm. I'm the king.
But we really about to see next year though.
That's my question about next year. David Pollack at halftime says Georgia's taken over the sport.
A part of me thinks David Pollack forgot Saban was sitting next to him.
Well, part of me also knows David Pollack has no sense of reality because that lets you know he's never won before.
Oh yeah,
Nick Saban, when you have like 8-9 championships and one what Nick Saban's done at multiple places, he's just like, dude, what?
I guarantee once the cameras turned off, Saban was just like, "Hey, David,
let me talk to you a second.
How many rings do you have?
Let me talk to you a second. Because there's so much of that goes on, right? That David Pollack forgot about his career.
It's just like Desmond Howard and all that stuff. They forget, they get, they start fighting, just like the whole thing with Nebraska, to kick them out the league.
Mhm.
Next thing you know,
You gotta get rid of him.
It's part of being working at that network, but it's part of you get caught up in the moment. And like we talked about, those Georgia in those SEC teams they're family. So when the team on the field wins, they win. You saw when LSU won, Odell Beckham Jr.'s out there doing his thing.
Cannon cash out.
Getting,
fine.
Matthew Stafford high-fived Stetson Bennett in the
Right.
tunnel because, they took classes as freshmen together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
their sons on the same football team.
as good as Georgia is this year. Kirby Smart still has not figured out the quarterback position. Nick Saban has. That's the big difference. He's never really been able to figure out the quarterback position. They kept Fromm over Justin Fields. They wouldn't even let Justin Fields on the play. He just wanted to play a couple series, and they was like, "Nah, okay, cool. I'll just go number 10 pick. We'll holler at you later, player."
I just can't imagine that Georgia team with Justin Fields.
Making more money than you.
Man.
Well, who's the guy that JT Daniels and all these other guys they tried to force
DeJuan
down
Mathis.
Yeah, trying to throw it. So he hasn't figured it out yet.
So what's more likely next year? That Bama comes back with a vengeance? Saban takes some offense to that Pollock comment. They get back to business as usual. Or that, hey, maybe Georgia's caught up to Bama. What's more likely?
They've caught up.
Yeah.
But as I said, the great hope, it's twofold. The great hope that Alabama has in place. You got Nick Saban, who will move the needle whatever way he needs to move
Heaven
it.
and earth.
And the fact that he has legitimate quarterbacks who are game changers
Right.
instead of leaders, game managers,
Right.
etc.
And they were young this year, and they got depth. So I mean, what's really I think is going to happen at SEC is you're going to see more parity. I think Tennessee with Milton, which is funny. You talk about quarterback,
right?
A coach that can't handle or don't know how to judge quarterbacks. Jim Harbaugh was like, "Yeah, leave." He's a top 10 projected pick, Milton, and he backed up the dude that most likely would have won the Heisman. He's at Tennessee, so I think Tennessee's going to be able to compete. LSU is going to be able to compete. Texas A&M. I think you're going to see more losses within the conference than normal. I don't think you'll see an undefeated team.
Is it more excusable for someone like Jim Harbaugh to misjudge a quarterback because he wasn't quarterback, or is it more excusable for someone like a Kirby Smart who played defense, who was a defensive guy to do that? Let me hit the idea real quick and we'll get the answer.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Well, I think you could just ask the Nebraska fans that, right?
that literally is where,
It's okay if Bo Pelini just hung his hat on, is it Taylor? Yeah, Taylor.
Team Magic.
But it'd be like, okay, here's the answer. Say I'm the head coach at Nebraska, right? And I got to get you three linebackers, but it's like Pat Fitzgerald and Patty Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
You weigh 42, you wear 42, you got to be a bad dude. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's probably a little bit more on Jim Harbaugh, but I think a lot of times when you force these young guys out there so early, unless they are next level, you can really stymie your whole program. I always say this: they better be Tommy Frazier, and Tommy Frazier didn't start as a freshman, but they better
and they had made him compete the whole time he was here.
Right. But
the best quarterback to ever walk on campus, they weren't sure he was the guy and let him know we're not sure you're the guy.
They kept the edge there and knew what motivated him, and he's one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time. Tim Tebow split time. His first championship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
good old Chris Leak.
Yeah, Chris Leak. And
don't blaspheme Chris Leak. Blaspheme Chris Leak.
Hey, let me tell you something. Chris Leak coming out of high school into Charlotte Independence High School was that dude. They went like 8 years undefeated.
Saw that kid.
Yeah.
I was like, no, he's gonna get a chip, and he wouldn't got it. So I'm not. I say this all the time about coaches. Coaches coach through their player profile.
Yep.
And Harbaugh is looking for
Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. Like that's what he identifies with. And he knows coaches get in trouble. If you're a defensive coach, You don't want a quarterback that takes offensive chances. That's a risk taker. That's a gunslinger. You don't want that. You want conservative Paul who will keep it in pocket and do the things. And that's where coaches at this level make mistakes.
Right.
Like they make mistakes. We can talk about it here in Nebraska. The coaches profiled and went to their personnel profile. They took what was best for them to manage rather than what was best
for the team
on the field.
Because you see, like if you look at Nick Saban, he's a defensive back coach by trade. Very, very
good at it.
Great at it. So I mean, Bama they're gonna have some corners, they're gonna have safeties, they're gonna have nickels. Now, granted, they got everything down there, but I think what Nick Saban's done, Brett Bielema talked about this, Big Ten DP. Remember we talked about where he had to go back after Arkansas. And really, he evaluated his coaches that he had. He's like, okay, we had good coaches because they all got hired. And then he took, like he said, 30. He had a 30-day mark, 60 and 90 to kind of keep going back and seeing it. Then he had to go over. He went around to all different types of places, and he had to adjust his offense. And then when he got to Illinois, he hit the line running. So, he's an offensive line guy, but his identity is kind of like what Iowa is: 3 yards in a cloud of dust, 4. But when he came to Illinois, now you see him being more explosive, more innovative, very, very good quarterback play. They have a really good, obviously running back, but then they had a good receiver, then have kind of like a tool guy in Juice Williams. Then off they go, and they change it just like that.
The school I'm fascinated to see with this quarterback discussion is Wisconsin. In that same mold, you're just talking about 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Right. Now they're going air raid. Is that school going to know what a quarterback is?
We'll see. As long as Barry Alvarez has somehow in the winter has a perfect tan, but he has his house there. They're going to run the ball. I think what they're going to try to do.
You got Braille now, and you can't not run the ball.
Even when Jim Leonard took over, the passing yards, the pass per play uptick. I thought that, okay, this is going to be a problem if they start to get some receivers because they had 2 receivers with almost 600 yards. That's like having 2,000 yards at Wisconsin.
True.
And the quarterback started to play well. So I was like, okay, I could see it, kind of expanding a little bit. And so I think he's going to probably try to add more of the Cincinnati type of thing with the physicalness. Ideally, what we were trying to do here and what he did in that conference with Cincinnati was still defense and stuff like that.
He'll coach his defense, but he went out and got his air raid offensive coordinator. Right. But you got to think at Wisconsin with the Barry Alvarez shadow hanging over you, it's going to be hard not to do what Wisconsin has done for so long. Yeah. But the question that many people are thinking is this going to change? Is going out of the Barry Alvarez tree to make this coaching hire going to change what Wisconsin has done for so long and has had success doing? And are they preparing for the future of the Big Ten and college football?
Well, to be honest with you, if they do that, even though I think Luke Fickell's a top, 10, 15 coach, it won't work. Because I'll give you a simple answer. Alabama and Georgia, LSU doesn't do it. So why would you go to a place that's going to run the ball? Now add some stuff to it because just handing the ball off to Ron Dane 45 times isn't going to win you a championship or get you
got you Heisman. That's about it.
Yeah, that's it. It ain't going to get you the Big Ten championship, and you're not going to win the Rose Bowl because when they played against TCU, they got exposed.
Red Rifle.
But if you can add some explosiveness to where defensive coordinator, I don't think people understand. We're talking about it down here in Lincoln, and we just hired 2 coaches. So what they're doing with this guy in there, with coming from North Carolina, is giving defensive coordinators more to think about, more to study. So if you can get you off your game, if I'm taking away from figuring out how to finally stop Wisconsin's running game, inside, outside zone, power, all that, and just by chance if we can throw the ball a little bit, now we're going to really, really be able to expose you. Now, they will be trying to do it, but they still got to recruit receivers. They got tight ends.
They got a transfer
More
receiver from
linemen.
Cincinnati. I mean, they have 4 quarterbacks coming in.
Well, but tell me if you've heard this story before.
Oh, I have.
Right?
That's the thing.
Right? We've heard this story before.
Twice.
about
I can remember.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so and that's why it's so interesting.
Every box is checked.
To not work.
And if you're a Nebraska fan, you're looking at Wisconsin like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it'll work.
But on the flip side of that coin, as a Nebraska fan, of course it's going to work. It's someone else. This program's cursed. Wisconsin is at least semi-stable.
I don't think the program's
We've seen this movie before.
We have. I want to believe
that. We've seen this movie before. We've seen it. Charlie Brown, line up. Lucy's going to hold the ball for you, and it's going to work this time. Keep buying it, and watch what happens. And they're sitting over. Remember, they got to face down the West too.
They do.
Like there's no, they don't get a cakewalk. So while they have gotten comfortable with a packed Camp Randall, that can change too.
We've seen that.
Change too. So good luck to them. Good luck to them.
Yeah, I think if they keep some sort of parameters on it. I mean, if they try to go out here and do, dude, it's gonna be like. I mean, we mess around, beat them by 21 points or something because it ain't gonna work.
The fan base was split when they hired Fickle because it was again going away from the Barry Alvarez, and they loved Jim Leonard.
Well, Jim Leonard had done well though, also.
Yeah.
And Luke Fickle wasn't in any of the kind of media outlets.
It happened quick.
It happened very quickly. Kind of like Lincoln Riley. So,
almost like they had already.
No. They just started.
Are you saying there was impropriety in
that
college
they would
football? No.
already imagine that.
No.
Because,
say it ain't so.
Well, the John Thompson used to say this: no college coaching deal is ever done overnight. He goes, because you're talking about long-term millions of dollars committed of other people's money. So people who make those decisions are never making them quickly. It never happens that way. So if this thing appeared to happen quickly, there was way more work put into it.
It's just like when I talked about when guys decide to go in the transfer portal day after the game. You was thinking about the transfer portal at week 6.
You already reached out.
Right.
Yeah, you already kind of thought and you already were gone. Now, I think
it is really weird when you have visits lined up, a week after you went to the portal.
There's a thing called logistics. Because if Nebraska lost that game, they would have been playing that weekend.
Yeah.
And so also with these deals, if I'm trying to hire DP, Enrico, now he might not sign it yet, but it's probably signed and then it's just not dated.
I know what you got.
No. What I know how much
he got paid.
If you're
so
coaching,
that when you call me,
it's if it's already agreed in theory, the only thing that could stop it to really going on if you go on a magical run, say somehow Cincinnati won 2 more games and they're in a New Year's Day 6 bowl or something like that, then like, all right, I got to stay, or say somehow Ohio State comes open or Notre Dame or whatever it may be. Then it would be that. But a lot of times, like that Lincoln Riley stuff, like, dude, you ain't going to just, after the game, say, I ain't going someplace, end up in California on a private jet, and everybody already knows what you getting paid.
And they know your pants size, or your shoe size.
He wore the Oklahoma Jordans.
No, he knew everything.
He had the USC polo. But he had the OU Jordans. It had the OU logo on the side.
They got the wrong shoe size.
He was like, we'll do this.
But then you have the acceptance speech and all those things.
Your kids have clothes.
And those things take time because the one thing what people don't understand is what these coaching hires, if DP's doing the flowers, you're doing the food, and you're doing the travel arrangements to pick it up. It's not like
it's a secret.
It's not like, hey, DP's working all weekend. Hey, man, 7:00. Can you get me 100 meals? You know what I mean? 100.
Why, coach?
Right. And I need
do it.
Can you make sure that you order 100 meals for us, and it's a 3-course meal or whatever, and just do it can I get in 2 hours?
This was
it's like the lady in downtown Kansas City where she knew Mahomes was getting a big contract because they came in and bought all that champagne.
Oh no, his mama was in the grocery store down in Houston telling everybody. Like she let everybody know long before it happened.
Yeah, it's hard to keep.
If a coach called Jay, if a program called Jay today and said, "Hey, we're flying you out tonight," in order for that to happen, Jay has to talk to 10 people to make that happen. Yeah. And guess what? Not to speak less of any of our wives, but if we told them that we were going on an important trip with them and they only had 3 hours to prepare, we would have to fight. We would all have. If
I'm getting paid like that, you getting left. You
right. You are ready in 3 hours, or I am on the plane.
I know. Seat 1.
You don't know the head coaches because I'm telling you, no head coach I know could say that to his wife and have a house when he come home.
Seat 1A going to be occupied.
Hey,
You know
hey,
what I'm saying?
it might
Figure
be
it out.
it might be the dog. It might be the dog. It might be
Right.
it might be the dog.
Dogs and the neighbors. are
Yeah,
coming, you know what I'm saying?
I'm taking our daughter with me.
Somebody go away. But I know. Look, I got a call, and I tell Beck, "Hey, I got 3 hours. You want to go?" All I get is the hand wave. You better go ahead and go. You better go ahead.
Go
and
handle
go.
your business.
Yeah,
Just
man.
let me know what's going on.
DP, what's coming up on Old School?
We're gonna break down. We're gonna talk a little Huskers basketball, men's and women's. We got a tough night last night, a big night tonight for the ladies, and a big week because they got
Saturday against
they
Ohio
got Saturday.
State.
Yeah,
Number
and the
3
men
team.
and the men bounce back. Oh, Purdue
have fun
on the
At
road.
Purdue.
Yeah, not
Oh,
good.
West Lafayette, that's a jamming town
It's
up
some
there.
work. And then, oh, by the way, the Huskers have a complete coaching staff.
Hey, what do you know?
Some of them are from Texas.
Per background checks. They got to do the background checks.
Guess who
Always.
coached in Texas? Yeah, we gonna talk.
Jay Foreman?
No.
There you go. For Rico, I'm Austin Strick. Will be back with you tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. He got Old School right here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey guys, Nick Sadert here, and I want to tell you about my friends at Spine and Sports Chiropractic. I experienced a herniated disc in my back a few years ago, and thanks to the folks at Spine and Sports, I got back to sports. They use the active release, which involves soft alleviate headaches,